Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another fantastic episode of Anarchy Among Friends Roundtable discussion. Before we get started, let me first remind you that we are covered by the BIPCOT No Government License, which allows for the use and reuse of this podcast by anyone and everyone except for governments and the bludgies thereof. You can learn more about that at bipcot.org. That is BIPCOT.org. We're also protected by Brandenburg v. Ohio, 1969, which ruled that the government cannot punish inflammatory speech unless that speech is, quote, directed to inciting or producing imminent lawless action and is likely to incite or produce such action. Therefore, everything said here on Anarchy Among Friends Roundtable discussion is entirely hypothetical and entertaining and Minecrafty and
hashtag
we're all,
for
we're all
entertainment purposes only.
Yeah, we're all a bunch of liars. Swear. We're talking about Grand Theft Auto, the game.
GTA.
Totally.
Yeah.
Did you see the AI graphics that were used on the pre-rendered thing that like MIT did?
Oh.
Where it looks, they used like 10,000 hours of dash cam video and ran it through an AI system to throw textures onto all the vehicles and everything, and it looks completely real. Like it looks like footage.
Nice.
That's scary.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of scary.
I don't
Like
like
a
when
biggest fan. I would love to play GTA like that. That would be fucking amazing.
So not only
VR.
do they have AI
Yeah.
now that can create like totally real looking human beings, but now they can create totally real looking environments for them.
The entire dynamic, but now granted it wasn't doing it in game, so they weren't like playing the game. This was pre-recorded footage that then they used it on. But the fact that it's being developed means that hopefully one day we will actually get games that look completely real. And I gotta tell you, playing GTA in complete real mode for a 14-year-old is definitely a path to a healthy childhood.
I play first-person shooters with zombies. I don't want real. I want my zombies looking cartoon.
Jesus. You guys, I play fucking Monkey Island, okay?
Do you remember the big head mode you could unlock for fucking GoldenEye? They'd have the giant heads and like the little tiny bodies and run around. Oh,
That was
good
so
time.
much fun. Now, could you imagine playing GoldenEye, but in where it would be realistic, actual realistic type graphics?
I was saying, realistic GoldenEye, James Bond just dies like at least 12 times. At
Oh,
the
at
end of
least.
Act 1.
Grenade goes off, leaves you with your ears ringing for 3 days.
I mean, you know, and you gotta say that James Bond is like the world's worst secret agent. He literally tells people who he is. Like,
Yeah.
that's just dumb, man. What?
Like even Archer wore a fake mustache.
Yeah, I mean, he at least told that. That's
So, all right, where do you guys want to start tonight?
Wherever.
That's not a good answer. You know I'm indecisive.
I'm sorry.
I used to
I'm-
think I was indecisive. Now I'm not sure.
I'm probably too sober for this shit tonight. So
Well, let's start with the mullet bands.
You want to go right to the laughter? We can't
well,
go
did
right.
you really
we
want to
can't-
go right to the laughter?
we can't go right
we
to the
gotta
laughter.
save that for after
Yeah.
something heavy.
Well, I mean, there's also strip club vaccine. That would
I
be
was just gonna
funny
say the
too,
strip
so-
club seems like it's appropriate for us to open with, to be honest with you.
Okay, let's
Okay, let's.
Continue
That's
the
kind of our thing.
yeah, the Anarchy Among Friends stripper discussions.
I wanted you to know I had 2 stripper articles bookmarked for this episode, and one of them was clubs are opening back up, but strippers are having a really hard time making money because they still can't have physical contact and they have to wear a mask when they dance.
Jesus.
They don't have to wear
I'm not
clothes, but they
looking
have
at
to
your
wear a
face,
mask.
sweetie.
It's, I mean, they should just throw like one of the like a shema on. Just do it with a shema or like a hijab
There you
thing.
go.
There you go.
We'll play some Arabic music. It's just a whole experience.
Just a little veil across the face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some lacy number, you know.
Yeah, belly dancers do stuff like that. It can be hot if you do,
Yeah,
right?
it can totally be hot.
Something where the curtain matches the drapes.
See, I don't know why people say that.
Oh,
Why people say the curtain matches the drapes, because the saying is, does the carpet match the drapes?
that's right.
Curtains and drapes are the same fucking thing. The carpet is what you want to know about. Does the carpet match the drapes?
If you're in a strip club, the blood's not in your brain.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true.
If you're in a strip club, there also is no carpet.
Yeah, and it's just,
Yeah.
no.
Typically, there's no carpet.
That's bare floor, man.
So if the carpet matches the drape, she's probably a cancer patient.
Yeah, oh
Or
God.
Britney Spears during.
Oh, God.
I actually
Yeah.
had that T-shirt. It was a
We're-
T-shirt of.
We're kink shaming people so bad right now.
Oh yeah, it was a picture of Britney Spears, like the photoshopped off of her cover for Baby One More Time, where she's like looking all innocent, looking up, but it's done where her head is completely shaved, and it says now the curtains match the carpet.
Or the carpet matches the drapes.
Yeah.
Nice.
All right.
Oh yeah,
Nice.
So
I got
this-
some nasty looks for that one.
God.
So Las Vegas officials hold pop-up vaccine clinic at strip club.
I see what you did there.
At a strip club, yeah.
Yeah, I see what you did there.
That's what the headline says. I'm just reading it like they wrote it.
Uh-huh.
They're holding it. They're holding the pop up at the strip club.
She's holding something.
She's copping a feel while giving her a shot.
Yeah.
Wearing a French maid-inspired lingerie costume and high heels, dancer JoJo Hammer waited patiently to get her COVID-19 vaccine in a line that snaked past a glittery hostess stand under a red light chandelier.
If there's ever something that inspires confidence in your healthcare, it's that you are being administered an injection by JoJo Hammer.
JoJo Hammer's the girl getting the shot.
Oh, okay, all right.
When it was
Here, I
her,
thought it was basic training all over again.
But they have to set up in strip clubs and offer lotteries to get people to fucking do it. So yeah, that really inspires confidence.
when it was her turn, Hammer sat in the chair and held onto a small feather duster that completed her costume while a nurse administered the shot into her already exposed arm.
Now, a real nurse
actual
or
nurse, not
Okay.
a
Sadly,
doctor.
not a sexy
Oh.
nurse.
Not a
sexy nurse.
I am
I feel
disappointed.
like that's a missed opportunity. You know,
It
It
is.
was.
I
It
mean,
is,
like, there's plenty
absolutely.
of actual nurses who'd be happy to dress up as a sexy nurse.
Right there. An actual nurse in a sexy nurse outfit going up to the guys, "Hey, sexy, can I give you a shot?"
And
Yeah.
There's guys out there that would be like, "Yes, ma'am."
my
Yep.
needle wants
Yeah.
to be inside you.
Yeah.
Hammer then waited nearby for the required 15 minutes of observation, sitting with other vaccine recipients in the leather chairs between plush purple booths, vacant stages, and empty poles at the strip club in Las Vegas.
And those leather chairs, licking them would probably be better for you than getting that shot.
Yeah, it would be far safer.
Yeah, I would.
I was gonna make that
I would
joke
take my
later. I was
chances with
gonna
that.
make the joke later about being in a strip
Oh.
club in Las Vegas and
Oh.
sitting in the chairs probably make you immune to
Mhm.
just about everything
Yep.
through natural. Yeah.
Right.
Natural exposure.
Natural immune
You know,
system
on that-
bombardment.
Speaking of that, my employer recently did antibody tests on staff, and anybody could go and do their antibody test. Well, I haven't gotten the coof shot, but a lot of my coworkers have. My antibody counts are twice
Mhm.
all of those people who decided to get the coof shot.
Makes sense to me.
Quote,
Well,
this
Almost
yeah.
like there's biological reason for that.
Yeah.
Quote, "This is the most Vegas thing I've ever seen," said one of the experience. Larry Flint's Hustler Club, with a spinning disco ball casting rainbow colors on the walls but more lights turned on than usual, was an unconventional site for a walk-in vaccination clinic. But as government officials and healthcare workers try to address the slowing demand for COVID-19 vaccines, they're increasingly turning to creative ways to incentivize people to show up and get a shot.
Uh-huh.
Quote, "This is just
Free lap
another
dances.
Yeah, quote, "This is just another way to access our population," says Joanne Rupier, the chief nurse of the Southern Nevada Health District who monitored the walk-in clinic. Quote, "It might attract some people who like the novelty of it, I suppose."
Come get your
No.
DNA rewritten in a strip club.
Yeah.
Just
Just because it's a novel experience.
A novel
You
experience.
know
for
what
a
though?
Novel virus.
If somebody falls for that and gets the shot just because it's in a strip club, they deserve whatever it does to
Yep.
them.
Well,
If you're taking things into your body in a strip club, you definitely deserve whatever you get.
Yes.
Ah,
Yeah.
But guys,
Oh,
mRNA
hold
shots are perfectly safe.
yeah. The clinic opened for several hours Friday night, administering shots to about 100 people before the strip club opened for its usual business. Several workers at the club, including Hammer, a dancer at a topless revenue, got their shots at the clinic along with members of the public. Some people who showed up to get their shots admitted that they were reluctant to get the vaccine, but decided to go for it if it meant visiting a strip club.
Like you
You
couldn't
deserve it.
visit a strip club. Yeah. You deserve
They
it.
actually, I just want to point out, they actually misspelled it topless revenue. That is actually in the article. Instead of topless review, they
Yeah.
spelled out the
Yeah.
word revenue.
Topless revenue.
Yeah.
That's how you know it's quality journalism, kids.
Well,
Yeah.
that's what happens when you get your vaccine in a strip club.
Strip club.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is my fourth one.
Yeah. You deserve it. If that's the
All
only
right.
reason you got it.
Yeah.
deserve it.
Roberto Monti, who lives near the club, said he had been putting off getting the shot, but realized he should get it in order to resume his love of traveling. Monti said he probably would have gotten the shot at a more humdrum venue, but decided to go to the Hustler Club because it felt familiar. I've been here, quote, I've been there, yeah, quote, I've been here so many times. I've been here a few times, maybe 10 times, give or take, he said with a laugh.
Yeah, because his wife is going to read this news article. That's
Yeah.
why he said, I've been here so many times. No, just a few. Maybe 10.
It's a business
Yep.
lunch, honey. It's
Yeah, quote, I was going to wait, I'll tell you that, said Las Vegas resident Michael Myers as he stood between a full-length picture of a naked woman and a sign promoting social distancing as others begin to mitigate the virus spread.
Michael Myers goes to the strip club to get a fucking vaccine. Oh, man.
You know what? If
God.
there's one person I'm going to take health advice from, it's going to be a guy named Michael fucking Myers.
Yeah, no shit.
Michael Myers in a strip club with the vaccine.
Uh-huh.
I believe that
Yep.
it was Michael.
Sounds like a rousing round of Clue.
That's
Strip
Yeah.
club clue that needs to be a fucking thing now. That definitely needs to.
Let's get on it, Andrew.
I believe that Candy did it in the champagne room with a glass dildo.
Did it with a high heel
A stiletto, gotcha.
stiletto. Yeah.
They don't wear stilettos. They wear chunky
Platform
stilettos.
stiletto.
Yeah, it would be a platform. It would be a platform high
Yeah,
heel.
they were
Stilettos,
platforms.
There's no traction there. They actually have special rubber. Don't ask me why I know that.
Yeah, I'm familiar with how little traction stilettos have.
Yeah. No, you wear
Believe
the
it or
full
not.
chunky heels.
I just want to hear someone say "Death by Snoo Snoo." Myers' wife, Lisa Harper, said he changed his mind when she told him they could both get it at the Hustler Club. Quote, I said, Flint's Hustler? Yeah. I said, oh, let me consider it, Myers said with a laugh. Quote, a lot of people wouldn't ordinarily do it. A lot of guys, they said, they came in here because it's Hustlers. To take away from the stoogedness of it, to make it Hustler, it's very clever.
Anything
You're
they
still
can
a
do.
Hold on. This
stooge.
is this quote. Nothing says vaccinations like a stripper pole, said the couple's friend George
Oh my
Stoken,
god.
who joined them to get the shot. So now we have Michael Myers in a three-way at the stripper club
With George.
with George.
George.
Yeah. Myers 70 said he was reluctant to get the shot and worried about how fast it had been available, but he noted his age and said he concerned about the ability to spread the virus and infect others, including his wife.
Oh,
Myers said he was
you don't have.
Myers said he was disappointed there were no dancers on stage when he got his shot, but he said, quote, at least I got the scope of it.
So it was a bait and switch to begin with.
Yeah, exactly.
Essentially, yeah.
You know, that anything they can do, and that's the thing is like I'm worried I'd spread it. you can't spread a virus that you don't have. That's why, like, that meme that I made that's gone viral, which annoys me because I'm a fucking Facebook fan, so I couldn't post it my damn self. But
you can't spread it if you don't have it. And guess what you have now, because they just injected it to you.
Let's not forget the RNA one doesn't actually contain the virus.
No. It contains a virus which replaces a protein chain in your cells that then it essentially tells your immune system this is
produce the antibodies.
This is what the virus looks like, so that it'll produce the antibodies. And there's a reason why they say pregnant women and young children shouldn't get it. It's because their cell nuclei are too soft, and they could, in fact, actually wind up rewriting DNA and causing birth defects if pregnant women and very young babies could wind up dying from it, because their cells themselves will get rewritten. Oopsie doodles. But, you know, you can't sue the vaccine producers. Shucks.
Yeah, so...
But it's totally safe, guys. Just go to the strip club and get your poke.
I mean, that's why I did that meme with I'm wearing a mask.
Some of them are hard up for money. You might get a poke and a poke.
Look at that. But that's why I made that meme that's got the person, the NPC with the mask on, saying, like, you need to wear your mask so you don't risk spreading. I wear my mask so that I don't spread the virus to others. Oh, what are you doing to prevent spreading Ebola to others? I don't have Ebola. And then angry face.
Yeah.
And yeah, that one's mine, people. Damn it. I'd like
Is it?
Yeah, I made it. I tossed it in the Telegram chat because I'm on a 30-day ban on Facebook. And I threw it on Twitter and on Instagram. So
that one's one of mine. That one crossed over into MeWe too.
Yeah, that one's one of mine.
Nice.
But this is it's another one of those propaganda things, like Goebbels would be just fucking laughing his ass off that shit like this works.
Oh, he's in hell right now, just yucking it up right now.
Yeah, because I mean,
he's so fucking proud.
Well, look at what they're. Imagine you put this in a dystopian novel, okay, where the government comes up with some sort of this mysterious injection that will rewrite the genetic code of your cells, and to convince people to get it, regardless of how nefarious it is, and without question, you pay celebrities to advocate for it. You do these big events. You hold events at strip clubs.
Lotteries. Like Ohio, New York,
Ohio is
Jersey,
$1 million or something like that.
There's a couple of them. I think there's 5 or 6 of them now that are offering fucking lotteries for people that get the shot.
Yep.
And then, I mean, and imagine that being in this dystopian novel, you would all go, I mean, come on, really? Are people that stupid?
We can even go further than that.
Well,
like,
yes,
if you were reading a book, and the book was talking about a pandemic that said you can't go to the gym, you can't hug your grandma, you can't hang out, you can't get together for Christmas or Thanksgiving or 4th of July, the gyms were closed, you're working from home, but if you get this shot, you can get free donuts, you can get free alcohol, you're entered into a lottery.
You can move around again. You can go places.
Oh,
that is dystopian as fuck.
That you remember that article we did a while back about the prescription for a freaking hug?
Yes.
There is a billboard as you drive into Kendall, Wisconsin, that says, "I got vaccinated so I can get my hugs again."
Oh, Jesus.
I mean, the propaganda.
If you were refusing to hug your family this whole last year, you deserve to be
and I was
part of a zombie fucking apocalypse.
No shit. I was watching something. I think I shared it in the chat. Said you guys should watch it. Dave Rubin interviewed. Was it Michael? I can't remember what the hell his name is. He was talking about something with parents on social media locking their kids in their rooms and how it was heartbreaking. Because they could hear their kids going, "Mom, I'm scared." Well, that's
fucking straight up child
abuse.
As a parent, you should be dragged out of your house and shot.
Then
your kids should be given to me.
There's another one. There's another one about this. In papers the other day, San Francisco proper, like the actual city of San Francisco, it's like 880,000 people or whatever. The actual city, like 32,000 cases, like 288 deaths from that are attributed to COVID in 2020, right? 288 deaths, 788 drug overdoses.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh yeah, and then remember all the doctors at the very beginning of this a year ago talking about how they're seeing spikes because of the lockdown, seeing spikes in alcohol-related deaths, in drug overdose-related deaths, in suicides, in domestic violence. They're seeing increases in murder, suicides, all of this other stuff. Because gosh, it's almost like humans are social creatures, and if you force them all into isolation, they lose their fucking minds.
And then then you let them out, and you're surprised that there's fights and mass shootings.
Yeah.
And parties.
Or solitary confinement is like one of the worst things they do to people in prison.
Chelsea Manning had on a podcast a few days ago. There, she was talking about, it was in the paper, about how the pandemic lockdowns was akin to the psychological torture that she suffered due to solitary confinement.
Oh yeah, and that's the thing is, like, remember that solitary confinement used to be much more common, and it was civil rights groups lobbying and yelling and screaming over it not all that long ago about how they needed to knock it off. I mean, there's still protests going on over supermax prisons and the way they completely isolate people from other people, and that it's psychological torture and everything else. And yet you can do it to an entire country, and this is just, but I mean, at least we're safe. I mean, if anything,
parents are doing it to their fucking children.
Yeah, if anything has demonstrated that people absolutely, if you get them scared enough, will happily give up anything that makes them human. Any human right at all, they will give it up as long as you scare them enough. This has demonstrated that.
There's the story that just came out yesterday about the bus driver in Colorado slapped a 10-year-old girl across the mouth because she talked back to him about wearing her mask below her nose. She said, "It makes me feel sick to wear the mask over her nose." So she had it, up on her upper lip. He open hand slapped her. A 10-year-old girl.
Well, I mean, on that same vein, I've talked about it on the show, where when this whole thing fucking started over a year ago, I got rammed into at the local store by a woman who was wearing her mask and all of her stuff. And she was like berating me. Where's your mask? Are you trying to kill people? What? Like, lady, if your mask works that good, why are you worried about mine?
Yeah.
Well, and remember, I mean, now that the CDC has said, because we have so many vaccinated people, you can stop wearing your masks, and people are still going, no, I'm still going to wear it. I'm still going to distance. Because you've instilled so much fear in the very core of people at this point that they are just utterly terrified of other human beings now, which I think was the fucking goal.
What was it? What was the article in the New York Times or something like that? Like last week, they were talking about a guy who wears 2 masks and goggles when he goes grocery shopping, and he said he plans to do so for the next 5 years.
What a fucking pussy!
Why?
Yeah, oh my god! If you are that terrified, you should just not be going out. Just stay home. Turn into a.
He lives in New York City. I was gonna say, he lives in New York City. He should be utilizing DoorDash. He should be utilizing the Amazon Day Drop groceries.
Yeah.
He should be utilizing all that shit.
You're like a half a millimeter from agoraphobia to begin with. So just give in and get it over with.
Yeah, right. Just go full shut in and start like the Nick, is that Nick Swartzen, I think, his character in what is it, the not the Replacements, I don't remember the movie that he did with, where like it's got John Lovitz in it, and it's got Heater and like a couple other guys, like David Spade's in it, where he's like that agoraphobe that like lives in the closet and is like, no, can't go outside is bad, sun is trying to murder me. Like this is what this entire country has like turned into. Except for, ironically, the very people the government was really trying to get to isolate from each other, which are the conservatives and the anti-government type. And we all have now just grown closer.
What did happen? Like, it's like New York, what was it? New York, California, and there was like 2 other states that have really high COVID death numbers that forced people with COVID back into nursing homes.
Michigan is another one.
Yeah, Michigan's another one.
Yep. Oh yeah, I loved when Cuomo said, "Oh well, I'm going to follow CDC guidelines by revoking the mask thing," and I'm like, "Oh, now? Oh, okay." And it's after you shoved everybody who is sick into nursing homes and you're vulnerable other people, so that you could crank your numbers up.
Yeah, and you talk about the vulnerability in the nursing homes. You got places like Michigan that I just mentioned where they were taking young people who had it, who weren't, necessarily really sick. They just had it and sticking them in empty wards in nursing homes. And there was a video not that long ago that went viral of this 18-year-old kid walking around on the old folks' wings, beating the shit out of old folks.
Out of a 71-year-old guy. Yeah. So yeah. All right, let's move on. Let's stay in Nevada though, and on a related subject.
Okay.
Republican lawmaker who refused to wear a mask is stripped of voting and speaking privileges until she apologizes. This is an elected representative in a state
lawmaker
in the state house.
Yes.
All right.
And so it begins.
A lawmaker making a political protest stand. What she was doing was in protest.
Yes. Republican lawmaker has been stripped of her voting and speaking privileges in Nevada state legislature after taking part in an anti-mask stunt on Tuesday, the Las Vegas Review-Journal reported. Annie Black, a member of the Nevada Assembly, ripped her face covering off while on the assembly floor. She said she refused to put it back on and falsely claimed that the Center for Disease Control and Prevention had said that masks are no longer required, the paper added. And then it goes on to say, in fact, the CDC says that only fully vaccinated Americans, blah, 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 blah. The next day, Black returned to the floor without a mask. The Assembly's Democrat Majority Leader, Teresa Benitez Thompson, raised a point of order and accused Black of breaking new legislative protocols. That led to a vote which stripped Black of her voting and speaking privileges. Black is barred from speaking or voting until she apologized for her conduct, but that seems unlikely.
So her entire district now has no voice.
Yeah, and I mean
to compound on what Derek had just said. So they've overtly banned her, which eliminates the ballot box. They can't tell her, she can't speak, so that eliminates her district's soapbox in the state house. Hey, Nevada, guess what? There's one left.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah. And we're now banned from Spotify.
Yeah, and that's gonna be. Yeah. Well, no, I mean, and that's the thing is, think about what precedent this is setting. Because she politically opposes the majority can just vote that she doesn't get a voice at all.
Yeah. And the people she represents don't get a voice at all. So democracy fucking sucks. It's almost like we've been telling you that for years.
Oh gosh, look at that. Voting doesn't work. Yay.
But I mean, and Jason, they can't see what I did. They don't care. But
we're just saying there's only one box left.
There's only one box left. And the more that they push,
go play GTA, you'll understand it.
Yes. The more that they push this, the more people are going to resort to that last box. I mean, we have seen, especially in the anarchist communities, a massive influx of people that were historically conservative. I've seen a few that were radical lefties that are now hardcore anarchists because they've seen just how dystopian everything is really becoming.
Yeah,
that's like that meme. Who radicalized you?
Right,
you did.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Let's circle back to that. They took away her ability to do her duly elected position.
Yeah.
Because
they shouldn't have power over that to begin with. She was put there by her constituents.
Yes.
Exactly.
It's not their choice which district doesn't get to be represented.
Yes. And let's not even forget, we can go into the whole, self-ownership, body autonomy, she owns herself to wear a mask or not, blah, blah, blah. They took away or they voted to take away her ability to vote on behalf of the people that live in her district. So not only did they take away her vote, they took away their vote, their voice,
Mhm.
and
And what
essentially
precedent does this
Yes.
set
yeah, these
Yes.
are
for
these are
the
the
average
same these are,
American voter?
These are the same people that refuse to reject or to refuse to pass bills regarding qualified immunity,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
but
Yeah.
they'll vote to stop a person from speaking
Yeah.
for not wearing a mask.
So if they
Andrew,
can
Yeah,
take away
Andrew
her
wants to
right
rant.
to vote,
Andrew
they
wants
could-
to rant. Go
if
ahead,
they can
Andrew.
take away her right to vote, they could take away your fucking right to vote.
Yes.
Well, that's the
they're
thing.
already
Is like
working
all
on
of
that.
these
Yeah.
people in politics seem to, and who support politicians, support the idea of voting and everything. They constantly forget that the same bat that you're going to use against your opponent today is going to wind up in the hands of your opponent tomorrow. What precedent is being set by this? The precedent is being set that it is okay to vote away the voting rights of a fellow legislator in the state legislature because you oppose their views so adamantly. That's
And-
what's the core of what's happening here. Is
And these
they're
people
losing.
usually the only people they give a fuck about are fellow legislators. If they'll do that
Yeah.
to one of their own, what are they going to do to you, the
And this-
average
Well, yeah.
fucking voter?
And this is really, really reminiscent of the antebellum American Congress. This is really reminiscent of the kinds of things that began to happen leading up to the American Civil War in 1860. This is what started to happen. These kinds of things where you already had a voting base that was getting steadily more apart, and there was this rift that was becoming steadily more irreconcilable. And then you had legislators who were coming literally to blows with each other over disagreements, and you had this complete breakdown of any semblance of order or anything to the Congress. And as that started to happen, well, when all these people start feeling completely disenfranchised and their voice doesn't matter, what did they do? They seceded from the United States and they started a fucking war.
Mhm.
So, like, what do you expect to happen by doing all of this stuff? You're taking away their options one by one to resolve things peacefully. And, Marvin Heemeyer tried to resolve things peacefully for years.
Yep.
And look at what happened when eventually he realized that there is no hope anymore. And I'm not saying that
Killdozer.
Heemeyer was not a little unhinged, because that man was definitely a little unhinged. But
But like Killdozer, that's what happened.
yeah, that's what
Yeah.
he did. And he
Well,
just
yeah,
started
and-
destroying their businesses.
But like you said, Andrew, for years he tried to be reasonable. He tried to play by their rules. He tried to do everything the quote unquote right way. And instead, they blocked him, they screwed him, and they bent him over backwards every which way until he finally said, "Look, I realize this isn't going to happen any peaceable way. So what's left?
Yeah, you've taken everything from me,
You've
and I have
taken
no way to fix
everything
it.
from me."
Yeah, and then they, and if you watch Tread, they talk about, you'll hear them go, well, we offered to, give him an easement across our property. The concrete plant that he didn't want there, that got plopped there specifically just to block his access. Blah, blah. Well, we offered to let him get sewer access through our property, and he said no. Well, yeah, because by then, that's the principle of the thing now. Of course he said no. You fucking screwed him for years, and he's like, no, screw you at this point. Screw you. Because you don't get to just give me, and act like you're doing me a fucking favor at this point. This never should have come to this in the first place. What do you think is going to happen now that they're starting to set this precedent of voting people who disagree?
Pelosi is pushing this on the House floor. She said she's talking about banning Republican members that are unvaccinated and that won't wear masks on the House floor.
Oh my god.
Oh, you will see this country implode on itself within weeks if they start pulling that shit.
Yeah,
I hope they do.
Well,
What
I
do you
do
think
too.
is
I
gonna
mean, we're
happen
already
if you
there.
make
This
everyone's
place is a
voice back?
powder keg. This country right now is a powder keg where you have essentially a fascist government and I don't care who's in power. There's some degree of
Literally
fascism.
fascist government.
Yes.
Yeah.
There is a fascist government in place. And I don't, like I said, I don't care if you're talking about Republicans in the House or in the Senate or whatever. There's a degree of fascism on both sides of the spectrum. I
Yes.
don't care. And they are going to continue to bludgeon each other over the head with these ridiculous edicts. And they're going to take away the voices of enough people that they're going to look at it and go, fuck you, we've had enough. No.
Yep.
Well, and you even have, they can't even, like, increasingly, opposition can't even speak out on regular social media or any of the regular things. And, you know, the bottom line is things like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, things like that are the new newspapers, right? What during the original American Revolution, the newspapers were, is what these social media platforms are. And when they are increasingly getting no voice in those, you're taking away any illusion of them having.
The technocracy banned the president of the United States from using it.
While he was still a sitting president. Yes.
Yeah. When this starts to happen, and you're now taking away any illusion that they have any voice politically, in any form, whether in politics or on regular social media.
Thank you, because you're totally proving us right. Everything we've said for years.
Oh yeah, and that's recruiting them all to our cause. What do you think is going to happen when our cause reaches critical mass? How do you think that's going to go for you?
Well, and you, like I said earlier, we've seen our cause grow and grow and grow over the last year as these governments, especially in freaking dystopian nut places like New York, California, Illinois, Michigan,
Oregon.
There is Oregon.
Oregon.
Well, I mean, I would say anything on the Pacific. Good segue. Anything on the Pacific coast is just a bunch of nut houses.
Yeah, anything west of I-5 is just fucked.
Yeah, pretty much. But you see it more and more and more, and I know, like, I'm not on Facebook. They kicked me off last fall. But even on MeWe, I have a group, and we started off with 15 people.
Yeah.
We're at 287 now. Yeah. And half of them are from these leftist lunatic states.
Well, yeah, like I'm from California. Derek is from Oregon. Dan, one of our ex-co-hosts, he's from New York.
Mark lives in Washington now.
Yeah, Mark was from Maryland.
Yeah.
Well, and I mean, you can even look at conservatives when you look at people like Dave Rubin. He was a hardcore lefty for a long time. Saw how corrupt shit was getting, and now he's a conservative leaning libertarian. And I give him, like, Michael Malice was the guy's name he had on his show.
Michael Malice.
And I give him
Mike Malice is a good dude.
He is. He showed up in like a full headgear where you couldn't see his face at all because of the mask orders in California. And he did the entire interview like that. But,
like, it kind of pisses me off though. Like, I want to tell them fuck off, because a lot of these people were fucking rabid voters up until this newest thing, and they didn't want to hear anything we fucking had to say. And like, so few of them are saying, shit, my bad, I was really fucking wrong.
Like Biden going back on the student loan pledge.
Oh yeah,
how many of us said that's a fucking lie? It's a campaign promise. It's never going to be realized.
Biden backed off on the student loan pledge to cut student loans. He also is not defunding police. Increased 1033. Increased border control.
Yeah,
has no interest in legalizing or decriminalizing marijuana at the federal level.
Yeah.
Everything that he campaigned on, that people were like, oh, he's going to do all these things and undo all these things that Trump did. He's continuing almost every single policy, single one,
including the tariff.
He literally hasn't done anything.
Tariffs were actually increased.
Trump 2.0.
Yeah, everything that they supposedly that these NPCs hated Trump for, and rightfully so in most cases, that they hated him for a lot of this stuff. But we all said, hey, Biden isn't going to be any better. Remember that Trump is a lifelong Democrat until very recently. Biden is an old line Democrat who opposed the repeal of Jim Crow. If you think he's your savior, you're an idiot. And look at what's happening. Gee, we're right yet again.
Yeah.
And the only difference is you have Biden and his administration pushing much harder than the Trump administration did for more gun control. That is the biggest difference between them.
Yeah, but Trump accomplished a lot for gun control while he was in office.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Trump was one big psyop, like I
Trump
said.
said
he was.
Trump set the precedence for gun control by executive order.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
You'll notice, and that was one of the things I said at the time when that all came out, where I said, if you think that isn't going to get used later, and on top of that, what else did Trump set a precedent for? Oh, right. Mad Dog Mattis, a DOD secretary who was a sitting active general less than 5 years before. That is not supposed to be constitutionally allowed. They made an exception for him and allowed a former military member, a very recent former military member with still a lot of loyalty in the military, to then run the military, which is not supposed to be what happens.
Yep.
And he still wore, you notice, his military uniform while he was in charge. And that was a precedent that the Republicans set. And now we have people being fired for being anti-cultural Marxists.
Biden's Secretary of Defense was a Raytheon lobbyist.
Oh, there's no conflict of interest there.
Oh no, not
absolutely
at all.
not.
Come on.
But remember though, what I'm saying though is that now we have this, people being fired for speaking out against the infiltration of cultural Marxism and this hyper-leftism in the United States military, and the precedent has already been set by Republicans to allow a general into the DOD to be in charge of the military. You see where this is going, and these precedents are getting set by the right because they don't bother to consider what's going to happen when the left is in power, and there are precedents being set by the left because they don't care what happens when the right gets in power.
Or they all know what's going to fucking happen, and they're working together to make it fucking happen. That's more likely.
That's more likely.
Ding.
Yep. And the steady spiral down to full-on authoritarianism.
The left hand, the left and the right are just shaking each other's hand,
jerking each other's cocks.
Yeah, more or less.
Yeah.
And just they're saying, "We'll do this, but you won't do that, right, guys?"
Yeah.
No,
they're jerking each other's cocks, and you're the one who's going to get spooged on.
What do you think? And if Trump runs in 2024 and wins, what do you think he's going to immediately start doing? He's going to just continue.
Nothing.
If Trump does run again in 24, I would be entertained to beat hell because the memes are going to be awesome.
Yeah, but I mean, what do you think is going to happen? Do you think he's going to suddenly change things? No, of course not. He's going to continue the same things that Biden was doing, except now the right's going to go ahead and bend right over for it.
Yep.
And the left will call him a Hitler and a white nationalist and racist and sexist and all this other shit for the next 6 years.
Yeah, except they won't anymore because now Biden was doing all that stuff and they're going, hey, look, see?
They don't care.
They don't care. They'll do it anyway. They don't fucking care.
They're goldfish with tunnel vision. All they see is the R behind his name.
They'll call him all those things under the sun and more this time around if he wins. It'll just be fucking pandemonium, and we'll sit here and we'll laugh about it and we'll make fun of the normies that are sitting there going,
and we will just fiddle while Rome burns.
You know more or less. I'm gonna make a prediction right now. Mark it. I'm gonna make a prediction. Trump wins in 2024. It plunges the country into civil war, mass unrest. They use that as an excuse to crack down hyper-military power, and that's what instills the full authoritarian regime. Is going to be that right there.
It's going to be either
when that happens,
or
remember that I said that.
I would say
say
apocalypse from the fucking mRNA shot.
Yeah.
That's all the zombies.
I was
Well,
I was
all
gonna
these
say,
sterile
Andrew,
because
it
of
could
the
very
top.
well be Ron DeSantis that does that instead. Because right now, from what I'm hearing from a lot of my conservative friends, is he is kind of the favored guy. Trump is yesterday's news for 24.
Okay. I would not vote for DeSantis for president, but if DeSantis wanted to be president of Florida, I would be okay with it.
Yeah.
Just to see.
Yeah.
See that? I saved that segue
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
because the old segway's dead and buried and plowed over in the.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was a
it
good
got
segue
lost.
though.
It was a
Jason.
good segue too, and we just kind of kept going.
Yeah.
Would have been a better segue if it had been in the right place in the conversation, but
Yeah. Wow.
Well, we had a herd of logical elephants trampling my segue. But new segue that grew out of the old segue. Secession.
Segception.
5 Oregon counties back a plan to secede.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would just like to say before we get into this, secession of the individual is the purest
The
form.
ultimate goal. Yeah.
Well, yeah, secession of the minority. Yeah, of course, the smallest minority is the individual. But,
Right.
however,
This is
Any step towards secession
This is a
of any
step in the
kind
right
is-
direction.
Yeah.
so in non-binding elections, parts of Eastern Oregon said they want to join Idaho. The conservative region has long felt alienated from the liberal politics of Oregon's population centers.
Wow,
Yeah.
what a shock.
Most of
gosh.
Oregon has always felt alienated from Portland, Eugene, and Salem.
Yeah, I mean,
Uh-huh.
Derek, like we said, Derek is from Oregon. I'm from California. Oregon, California, Washington, New York, Illinois, they have the same problem. They have these tiny urban areas that are densely populated, that have a shit ton of elected officials that overrule the more conservative areas of the state, which in landmass is far larger than you have in the urban populations. So,
and the rural areas that are getting overruled are the production areas.
Well, yeah,
so it creates 2 separate classes of citizens.
Well,
the fucking worker ants who have no say in anything, and the grasshoppers.
And I would say the same thing with Wisconsin too, because I mean, you look at Wisconsin, every election cycle, you see Superior, La Crosse, Madison, and Milwaukee are always blue. Always.
Yes.
Eau Claire flips around every couple of years, but the entire rest of the state, including Green Bay, Appleton, Oshkosh, and that whole population center over there, it's all red.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
because there are so many people in Milwaukee in that area.
Yeah. Yeah, in Washington,
but those
in Washington,
people,
in Washington, it's Seattle, Tacoma, Olympia.
Yep.
California,
cities,
it's Sacramento, it's the Bay Area, it's the LA area.
And I've always said it, there's something about cities, like people living like fucking sardines, that makes them believe that they have some fucking imperative over their neighbor, over the person right next to them on that subway.
There's an actual theory to this, right? Where you have more population, you're going to have more government. Right? So people grow up with more government, so they become more used to it. Like
independent.
Like where like up north where my nephews go to school, they don't have armed guards at school.
Yeah.
The schools down here where I am, they have chain link fences and barbed wires and sheriff deputies. Sorry, not sheriff, police deputies.
Jeez.
Right?
I live in a town of 1,300 people. We have 4 cops for all 3 shifts.
My whole county has 25,000 people. Entire county.
I have more people in my county than several states.
Right.
Yeah.
There's over 1 million people in my county.
There are people, the city that I live in, there are neighborhoods, even just in the Twin Cities, that are the same size as the entire city that I live in. And yet my city is even densely populated enough. And unfortunately, because we have like 6 fucking colleges within the city, is so fucking left that it just keeps going harder.
You only have 3
left. No, there's more than that because there's Viterbo, there's UWL, there's WTC.
All right, we don't care. So the point is, the point is,
Jericho shot that plane out of the sky.
yeah, when people live so close to each other,
Andrew went down like a Malaysian airliner.
They become so dependent. They become so dependent on a third party to protect them from the people they piss off because they live too fucking close to each other.
Yep.
You know, and then they become dependent on the government, dependent on their neighbors to pay for it, and then they start thinking we're all interdependent. No, we're fucking not. Well, cities, U.S. cities, you all could fucking burn off of the map tomorrow, and the people left behind in the country wouldn't fucking care.
We wouldn't care. We wouldn't even notice.
Yeah,
we wouldn't even fucking notice.
They'd be like, "Oh, that happened? Okay," and they'd find out about it 3 months later. I mean, they don't fucking care.
I live in thick Amish country. If shit went sideways in the cities, I would just go talk to the Amish and be like, "Hey, I want to put up a cattle fence around my yard. What do I do?"
Yeah.
And they'd come out and be like, "All right, just put this there, put that there, do this, and you're good to go." I mean,
this time last year we were being told, quote, "We're all in the same boat." Right?
No, we're fucking not.
No, we're fucking not.
Well, Portland is the Titanic, but the Titanic is on fire.
The entire Pacific Coast is the Titanic.
What Derek was talking about, I mean, think about like Portland, right? Like, what do you always hear when you hear people talk about Portland? They talk about, oh, it's the art, all of the art and the creativity. It's never, oh yeah, they're the headquarters for all these manufacturing concerns. And
no.
Nike, only Nike, and that's because Phil Nike went to Oregon.
Yeah, right. Other than that, it's always it's the art.
Nike's
it's the
and Nikes are manufactured overseas. So I'm just
yeah. So like they don't make anything, they don't produce anything. They produce artwork, and you notice where the concentrations constantly of leftists always are, is it's always in these artistic groups where they don't actually produce anything of any real intrinsic value.
Yep.
And so they demand that everyone else pay for their lifestyle.
Well, and you say the same thing. You could say the same thing about New York City. You have Broadway, which is a huge tourist attraction. Yeah. You have all of the off-Broadway shows. You have the Met. You have all of the
have Wall Street. People manipulating other people's money. You know, I think we can fucking do without that. Pretty sure we could live without that.
I'd be okay if New York just all of a sudden flooded and. If the day after tomorrow actually happened,
New York can fall into the fucking Hudson. Portland can fall into the Willamette. We wouldn't give a shit. People who live in the country will fucking survive without you.
Anybody on the western side of the San Andreas Fault falling into the Pacific Ocean? Mm-hmm. I mean, we would miss you, Jason. Don't get me wrong, but
I'm east of the.
Yeah,
I'm used to the San Andreas.
Okay, then you would just have to worry about the tidal wave. No big deal.
Oh no, I'm far enough away. Yeah.
Well, no,
you'd be a lot closer to the beach. So
yes, you would. Yes, you would.
A couple of years ago, the Seminole Nation, right? Seminoles are the tribe in Florida that never has actually ever surrendered to the American government ever. A lot of the
that's because nobody wants to fight in the swamp.
Well, that's because they live in the fucking swamp.
Well, I mean, there's there was a number that stayed behind in Florida. Most of them moved west, but a lot of them didn't, and the ones that didn't never surrendered. So the tribe itself never did. But in 2019, they actually purchased Hard Rock Cafe. The Seminole Nation did. A lot of people missed it, but it happened. They actually bought the Hard Rock Cafe. The whole chain, the whole thing. The Seminole Nation owns. And the chief of the tribe said one of the greatest quotes I have ever heard, which was, years ago, our ancestors sold the island of Manhattan for a few beads. Today, we begin to buy it back one hamburger at a time. And
so they own the Hard Rock Hotel then. In Vegas, they own all of it.
They own all of the Hard Rock stuff. They bought
the whole Hard Rock brand.
I know where I'm staying next time I go there.
I don't remember if it was like 95 million or 950 million.
2007, the tribe bought the Hard Rock Cafe franchise for 967 million.
Yeah, so 900, a little over $900 million. Yeah, they bought it, and that was the quote. And I wish they would. Like, could you buy Manhattan back, maybe? And maybe, like, just demolish everything, turn it back into a wilderness? Like, that would be great. If you go ahead.
Manhattan was a fucking swamp. It was like, like they had to do so much construction to make it.
Well, I mean,
hold buildings.
Manhattan Island is an island in like 2 estuaries.
Yeah,
that's what it amounts to.
It was wetlands.
It was all wetlands, and
if they could go ahead and turn that back,
that's why it flooded under Hurricane Sandy.
Yes.
Well, and don't forget that the entire southern end of Manhattan is in fact built on a garbage dump.
Right. Wow.
That was originally a garbage dump that filled in the water, and then once it filled up high enough, they decided to slap buildings on top of it because that's a good idea.
Oh yeah.
So, all right, let's get into this
what
article.
Could possibly go wrong?
Yeah, let's talk about this secession.
Buried again. All right. Political divisions in Oregon can be great.
How now, brown cow? How now?
Fuck
Yours has oddly shaped feet.
Political divisions in Oregon can, to a great degree, be measured by a river. The Deschutes. How do you say that, Derica? Deschutes. Okay. Measured by a river, the Deschutes, which winds its snaky, circuitous way through the state's midsection. The river divides the high prairies of the eastern half, agriculture and politically conservative, largely, from the wetter, woodier western half, which has been more populated and more liberal.
The Deschutes River is some of the best fucking whitewater rafting in the world. I'm just going to say that.
I have heard that. I wish I could go out there.
I was going to say, I've actually heard that too from people that it's fucking amazing.
Oh, I've been on it. It's fucking amazing.
I've been to Eugene and I've seen it, but I've never actually been on it.
You want to go to Bend. If you want to do whitewater rafting on the Deschutes, you want to go to Bend.
Yeah, I'm only like 2 hours from the American River and then like 4 hours from the Merced River.
Hey, Andrew, should we go do some rafting in Bend?
So what have you guys done? Like level 3, 4,000, 4,000. That's right. I'm not going to die.
Okay. So the Deschutes River.
The Deschutes River. Yeah.
The statewide shutdown orders that accompanied the coronavirus pandemic last year deepened those divisions, crippling businesses at a time when some rural counties had few cases. The protests and riots over race and police conduct in Portland, the state's largest city, widened the gap further still, and the defeat of former President Donald J. Trump, who won most counties but still lost the state by a large margin after President Biden's strong showing in the cities capped off a litany of frustrations. This week, all of that led to thousands. Okay, first off, they've listed like 4 things. Reality, there's like 400 things.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yes. Absolutely.
All right. I mean, everything from property rights to environmental to fucking
gun rights,
the stupid ass bullshit cattle permits, and you got to get a permit to cut a tree down, to feed your wood stove, to get Christmas.
Well, don't forget. I mean, when Oregon and Washington were passing those.
I could go off for hours about this.
When they were passing a lot of those laws, like you always heard these arguments that were coming from these counties, from these eastern counties, going, "This is stupid because," and they just got shouted down every time.
Yes. All right. This week, all of that led thousands of East Bank residents to a single resonant but highly improbable word: secession. A majority of the residents in 5 eastern counties said in non-binding votes that they would like to leave Oregon and join with the more like-minded conservative neighbors further east in Idaho.
Mm-hmm.
I can't blame them.
Yeah, quote, "Those of us in rural Oregon are written off," said Mike McCarter, a retired agricultural nursery owner who has led the secession drive.
Yeah. And to be clear, there's a lot of rural Oregon west of that too. There really is.
Yes.
It is 3 cities that are fucking causing all of this.
Like the political companies. That's 4 pieces, right? Like the top left is Oregon liberal, and like the other 3 pieces would be Oregon conservative.
Yeah.
Yes.
Most of like the southern half of Oregon and the northern half of California, like that makes up the state of Jefferson. I actually have my state of Jefferson patch on.
And really, in Oregon, it's just the I-5 corridor.
Yes. Same California, same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that was one of the things when I was in, every time I've gone to the Pacific Northwest, it was always like kind of culture shocked me. It's like you land, in a plane in Seattle, you land in Portland, you land in LA, and as you head east out into the country, it's unrecognizable the way people are there versus the way they are where you just landed in an airplane. It is completely different. Completely different.
Where my kids live, an hour north of Sacramento, there's state of Jefferson signs.
Yeah.
Like only an hour from the state capitol, and there's already people be like, no, we don't want anything to do with it.
Yep.
Well, they absolutely should have that choice.
Yes,
absolutely.
They almost did. They almost did, and then Pearl Harbor happened, and then.
I was gonna say, especially when you look an hour to the south and you see what's going on in Sacramento, and you go, no, this is complete horse shit. And the same thing in Oregon. All those people to the south and the west or east of Salem, they're like, no. Why would we want anything to do with what you're telling us right now?
Yeah. I found Portland absolutely disgusting. I mean, I did. I found it absolutely.
I was never in Portland. I was only in Eugene, and even that was.
Eugene is worse than Portland.
Eugene was.
Eugene has University of Oregon.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Eugene is where the mother of my twins is from.
That explains it.
That should explain.
All right.
But
that's why I only had fun while I was there and didn't really care for the climate.
Yeah, but I was disgusted by like Portland and stuff, and just it's so much commie bullshit there. And then as soon as I headed out into the country, it really is. It's like, my people.
Yeah,
right. That's another one of the things. Like here in the Bay Area, like you see work trucks, but like the majority of civilian vehicles, whatever you want to call it, are cars. Right? Toyotas, Hondas Accords, Camrys, those stupid little mini SUVs. The crossovers, as they call them.
Yeah.
You get 20 minutes outside of the Bay Area, the majority is pickup trucks.
Yep.
Yeah.
And big SUVs. You can haul.
And big SUVs. Yeah.
Well, I mean, families.
Suburbans.
Yeah.
Where I live is
those fantastic excursions that get 8 miles to the gallon.
Oh yeah. I absolutely love those things.
I had an X7.
I'm looking at the average MPG on my fucking Navigator right now. It's like 14.5.
I was gonna say the city is like 12.
Fucking
highway 17. My truck gets about 8.
We're killing time. Let's get back into this.
Yeah.
All right. Talk of gathering up grievances and divorcing has long been a staple of American politics. Upstate New York regularly threatens to sever ties with a more liberal city of the same name. Californians have long toyed with splitting the state in two. Texas, which has always wanted to go larger, sometimes talks of leaving the United States entirely.
Which they really should.
I'm full support of.
Florida should too.
I'd probably that would be the only reason I would ever move south is if Texas left.
If Texas left, Idaho's going with it, and Arkansas is probably going with it.
Yeah,
probably.
And
Oklahoma. Really I would say Oklahoma's going.
I'm surprised Utah has it by this point in time.
Yeah, they're barely a state though. It is.
Yeah.
Well, Utah has the NSA data center, so they can't leave.
Yeah. Well, like Utah, like a couple of cities surrounded by fucking federal land.
Yeah.
So.
There's a small part of me that really wants to get a battle axe and just go to town on the NSA data center in Utah.
And he's getting droned. All right.
That's not the only one.
I'm already a probable drone target. Come on.
All right. The Greater Idaho movement that spurred the special election vote on Tuesday has also been simmering for years, but it has picked up steam amid the growing political polarization that accompanied the November presidential election and the fractious debates over government response to the pandemic.
Yeah, voters, we've talked about the readout before.
The readout area, which is Idaho, Western Washington, Western Oregon.
Eastern Washington.
Eastern Washington, Eastern Oregon.
Yeah, and like Western Montana.
Like Western Montana, that whole little fist area.
Where Ruby
part
Ridge?
Of Wyoming.
Yeah, Ruby Ridge would be part of it.
Yeah.
And then
no, off topic, but Missoula is a beautiful city.
It is. Yep. Missoula is an interesting city.
Yep. Voters in 2 counties, Union and Jefferson, state of Jefferson, voted last fall to address the question of a border change, a process that will begin public meetings in the counties, with one set for June. That is, a week from now. Mr. McCarter, 74, who bought a gun, who brought a gun club in retirement and now helps people to get their concealed carry permits, said that Eastern Oregon, despite what Congress did in setting the state's borders more than a century ago, really is more like Idaho. Adding rural Oregon's voice to Idaho's, he said, would benefit conservatives and give them a strengthened heartland in the Northeast. Quote, we just want to come alongside them and bolster the conservative support.
Can you imagine the kind of
They're being-
pour-in of conservatives to that area if that happens?
And they want to feel like
yeah.
they have some fucking representation within their state because they don't in Oregon.
Not only that, but taking away the elected representatives of Oregon.
Yeah.
All right, so they would lose elective representatives. They would lose.
They lose GDP and resources.
Well, not only that, but they would lose the electoral college points.
Yep.
Mhm.
Well,
that would be added to Idaho.
That's
So,
just
I
like
mean,
what you're seeing right now.
Politically, this would be a huge deal at the federal level.
Mhm.
Yeah.
This would be a big deal. But at
Well,
the
I mean-
state level, it would have Oregon, it wouldn't affect Oregon at the state level because that would just bolster their liberal, right? So they would have a stronger liberal majority.
They could just
Oregon.
go to hell in their handbasket even faster.
They'd veer even
Yes.
harder left and
Yeah.
eat themselves is what would happen.
Yeah.
Because there
Which
would be anything else to
I'm
eat
okay
then.
with.
Yeah.
I'm okay with it.
I'm sure Idaho would be happy to sell them potatoes.
Yeah.
Here's a rough.
The proposal also faces serious economic headwinds. Recreational marijuana is legal in Oregon, but not in Idaho, which has led to tax revenue boom in Oregon's side, where Idahoans have traveled to buy. There is even a drive-through weed store in a town of Ontario, the largest community in Malheur County, an hour's drive from Boise. Oregon also has no sales tax, a fact that led many Idahoans to cross the border to shop.
Mhm.
Malheur County, that's where Ammon Bundy and them boys had the standoff.
Right.
Where LaVoy Finicum was murdered, assassinated by his own government.
Right.
I
And
still,
most of this is-
haven't been able to read that book.
Most of this is desert that we're talking about. It's like
high-
high plains desert.
High desert. There's
High desert.
Yeah.
there's a lot of sheep herders up there, a lot of cattle herders. There's still some loggers, but it's like selective logging.
I have family that fucking have one of the largest sheep farms in Oregon, like in Bend, right there at the Deschutes River.
Good antelope hunting though.
Yeah.
But Grant, Baker, Lake, Sherman, and Malheur counties, the 5 currently in revolt, are huge in area but minuscule in population and thus political clout at the capital in Salem. The counties contain 63,000 people over about 26,000 square miles, an area about the same size as Massachusetts, Connecticut, New Jersey, Rhode Island, and Delaware combined.
Yeah.
Yep.
I have 1.1 million people in my county.
Yeah.
Well, and keep in mind,
My county has less than 15,000 people in it.
Speaking of those states, keep in mind, like, look at that land division in the East and how vastly different each state politically can be because they're so small. So the populations can be very politically different. And that's fine because they don't have these secessionist issues because it's small, which means that each place is kind of isolated to like-minded people and everything else. I think that's when they carved up the West originally, they carved it up long term.
It was largely done on like geographical lines and then on latitude lines.
Yeah.
And then it winds up being
like the border between Washington and Oregon. The only reason it exists is because it's the fucking Columbia River.
Yeah.
Yeah, like look at what happened when the British and the French carved up like Iraq, for instance, ignoring tribal differences and everything else, and just went, we're just going to draw this line here arbitrarily. Look at what that's done to the entire Middle East. That all these countries were done this way, and
now we're seeing it in the U.S.
Yeah, in the U.S., where when you have that kind of division, you really need to split borders.
So 63,000 people would leave. Overall population of Oregon is 4.218 million. The population of Idaho is 1.78 million. So that would make it, what, 1.9? Something like that. Or
ish.
2.4 or something like that, whatever.
It'd be about 1.85
So
ish.
Still really small.
yeah, so, but 63,000 people over 26,000 square miles. Quote, these are really small places and tough places to make a living, said Tim Dye, professor of economics at the University of Oregon. Recent demographic trends have not worked in their favor, with essentially flat or slightly declining populations across the past several decades, even as urban centers in Oregon, especially Portland, explode with growth.
Well, it's not surprising that the urban centers are exploding with growth, because a lot of your lefties kids who decided that they were going to be lefties when they got out of the public indoctrination system got done with their college and decided, you know what, I live out here in the middle of bumfuck Egypt, and I don't agree with these people, so I'm going to go live with my people.
And it's
And
not
that's
even
why-
that. It's not even that. It's that the regulations coming out of Salem have
Yes.
made it even harder to earn a living
Mhm.
in this hostile environment.
Mhm.
And so, like, people are fucking abandoning their farms and shit because
Yeah, like the environmental regulations I was talking about earlier.
Mhm.
The environmental regulations aren't created by people that live on the farms.
no,
They're created by people that wear suit and ties and work in
and live in concrete fucking jungle.
yeah.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
and
who barely
the
ever
vast
even
majority of them
see-
are lawyers.
Well,
Yeah.
they're created by bureaucrats,
Yeah.
not
and
farmers
the
and
closest you
fishermen
get to
and
seeing a
hunters.
crop is an overly long neighbor's lawn.
Yeah.
I mean,
And-
that's
Yeah.
I mean, you see the same thing where Andrew and I live in Wisconsin,
Mhm.
where the family farm has all but died.
it's dying, and it's dying at an ever increasing pace. I mean, one of the most
Mhm.
depressing things you can ever do is look at the real estate listings for rural
Mhm.
Wisconsin, because every week you see more and more of these family farm operations coming up for sale because the regulations have gotten so bad, the small guys can't do
Yeah, we
anything
can-
anymore.
Yeah.
That's another topic that I can go for hours on.
Yeah.
About the family farm dying and corporate farms popping up, and the U.S.
Well,
being a net importer of food. You know, the U.S. imports about 60% of the food we consume.
Yeah,
Worked
That-
out
yeah.
so well for the Roman Empire.
Well, we don't even have to. That's again because of the lefties and their fucking special diets
Yep.
and shit like that.
Yeah.
well,
So,
and,
all right,
and,
all right.
and not only that, but I mean, back when I used to run a
circling-
service truck. Yeah, I know.
Circling- okay.
Well, back when
the-
I used to run a service truck, I did a lot of work for family operations, and they were, whatever you can do to get it back into service, do that. And then I'd go to this big corporate place, and they ran over a deer antler, and their tire on their spreader tractor was flat, but it was repairable. I just put a new tire. In fact, get 4 new tires.
Back to the article. The few rural places that have grown in that part of the state, notably Bend, a former timber town in central Oregon bisected by the Deschutes River, has shifted largely to the left as newcomers arrive, many of them from Portland.
Yeah, and people move
as
to
we
Bend.
discussed, Bend is where the University of Oregon is.
No, that's
No,
Eugene.
No,
Eugene.
oh, sorry, Eugene's where they. Bend
Yeah.
is.
The reason that Bend is booming is because Bend is where you go for all the really outstanding outdoorsy stuff that
Yeah.
Oregon stands
Mhm.
for, like the recreation, outdoor recreation. So all these people who live in fucking cities,
Mhm.
this is the only way they can get outdoor recreation is to go to Bend, and that's
Yeah. Okay.
yeah.
It's
For
like
Eastern-
Chicagoans getting property in northern Wisconsin. It's the only
Yeah.
way they can
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah, for Eastern
it's-
conservatives, it has all been like watching a train pull away down the tracks, leaving them behind. All 5 of the would-be new Idaho counties voted strongly for Mr. Trump in November, topped by Lake County, where he got nearly 80% of the vote, only to see the state's electoral college votes go to the Democratic candidate. Mr. Biden won 10 counties and lost in 26, but the 10 included Portland.
Yep.
Yeah, which, I mean, keep telling yourself you have a voice. You can,
Yeah.
all of these people overwhelmingly
I mean,
vote one way.
the
and
same
it
thing
just
happened in our state with
Yeah.
Wisconsin, where Milwaukee, Madison, and just a handful of other counties.
California happened in California too.
Yeah,
Voted
you
in
saw it
favor
all
of
over.
Biden.
If you
Everybody
look
else.
at the map of the counties across the U.S. and the way that they voted, you see that where all these rural counties are going one direction, and then all these little population centers are going completely different direction.
Yep.
And you want to honestly tell me that it is beneficial for these people and those people to be stuck in the same border?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Quote, most of us in rural Oregon realize that whatever the Portland Willamette Valley area wants, they get, Mr. MacArthur said. Quote, do we have freedom to vote who we want to govern us? That is the question.
The answer is no.
Yeah, the answer's no.
Yeah, while occasional
and
talk
Portland and the Willamette Valley. Yeah, that's absolutely true because I grew up at the north end of the Willamette Valley, and Eugene is at the south end. So there's like Portland, Salem, Eugene are all in that Willamette Valley area.
It's like bookended with just like hyper left on each end.
Yeah.
While occasional talk of secession has accompanied the polarization of politics across the country, dreaming of remaking the American map has been particularly resonant in the West, where state borders were late in coming. In the 1930s, residents of Wyoming, Montana, and South Dakota dreamed of forming a conglomeration of like-minded communities in the new state that would be called Abroska. The idea of a vast new political entity called Cascadia that would stretch up through the Pacific Northwest into Canada has fluttered in the regional consciousness for decades. More recently, residents of Northern California and Southern Oregon hatched the idea of the state that would be called Jefferson.
Yeah,
I have a cousin that lives in that area.
Quote, in previous decades, it was the southern counties. Now it's the east, but it's the same feeling powerless. That is Bruce A. Weber, the recently retired longtime director of the Rural Studies Program at Oregon State University. Quote, the desire to have influence and respect is universal and is part of what is driving a lot of behavior in this country right now.
No, I think he's missing something. The desire to not be fucking victimized.
Yes.
Is universal.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
To not be able to have the opportunity to speak and have people listen to you and not be like, oh, well, I want this. And then have everyone else go, yeah, that's cool. That's fine.
Yeah. You have no voice here. Your shit is ours now.
Yeah. And to go along with that, I mean, what I was just trying to say is I have a cousin that lives in this particular area of Canada. And he says the same thing. It's like that whole area wants nothing to do with the Canadian government.
Yeah,
they want to join Montana and Idaho.
Yeah, Canada has the same issue. Canada has the same issue. The eastern edge of Canada, the Quebec area of Canada, the French-speaking part of Canada, they control all of Canada. Like British Columbia, British Columbia is like a small population, very extremely rural, like Western Oregon. It's
Oh yeah.
Part of the argument for shifting borders, according to Citizens for Greater Idaho, which organized the secession ballot measure, is that conservatives are fleeing liberal areas to join Americans in more conservative areas. Just like people leaving California and Texas. Why not? The group suggests give the conservatives more room. Quote, adding Oregon counties to Idaho will take some pressure off Idaho's housing market, the group said, giving people more counties to choose from as they move into Idaho to gain political refuge from blue states.
That says a lot about Idaho, and and that's been the case for a very long time. I mean, again, bringing up Ruby Ridge, the early 90s, that was a thing that everyone talked about at the time, is that lots of people who are very anti-government and stuff go to Idaho. It's been this like a magnet for this kind of culture for a very, very long time.
And they're running out of housing now. I mean,
yeah. There is a project in Idaho right now that's actually called the Citadel. I don't know if anybody's heard of it, but it's literally like a giant concrete like fort with these concrete like bunker houses. You can then slap siding on and make look like a normal house, but it's actually like hardened steel reinforced concrete with like steel drop windows and stuff for defense and everything. And it's being built in Idaho specifically for anti-government people to go live in together. so that they have a defensible perimeter so that a Ruby Ridge can't happen again. Like, this is the kind of culture that you're looking at in Idaho, and why these counties want to join.
And why do people feel this is necessary?
And not only that,
Because
but I mean, you look at the recent census data, and you see how California has lost representation. New York
California
has lost
California's
representation.
lost
And
people. California has a smaller population now for the first time in like 40 years. Like more people have moved out of California than have come into California for the first time in like 40 years.
And that's
because the beaches just aren't worth your bullshit.
Yeah,
right.
And the problem is that then a lot of these people who flee these policies that are just sucking the life
God,
out of
vote
their
for the
economy.
same
Fucking
shit when they
vote
get
for the
there.
Same shit where they
Yep.
go. That's how Oregon.
That's why
ended
Colorado's
up so
purple.
fucking liberal. That is how Oregon ended up so fucking liberal.
And that's what's gonna flip Texas right now.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
already
Texas.
flipping Arizona. It's already flipping Arizona.
It's flipping Arizona, which is actually why I withdrew from my stance to try and get to move to Arizona, is because I saw how left it was starting to turn. I mean, you see that, you see that in Colorado. I mean, look at what Colorado used to be even 20 years ago.
This is the real virus, folks. This is the real fucking virus.
Leftism is the real pandemic.
Yeah.
So you're saying politicians aren't nice people?
Fuck no.
So you
say
would not be
that.
surprised. You would not be surprised if I read a headline that said Kentucky home for adults with disabilities now in limbo as city issues eminent domain.
No, I wouldn't be surprised.
Shocking.
Would you be surprised if I told you that the 28-bed residential facility is across the street from the police station in City Hall?
What a completely utter coincidence.
Did we lose Christopher altogether, or just video?
No, he's still here.
I'm still here.
Okay.
So this is
my video off.
And this is Russell, Kentucky. 28-bed residential facility for disabled adults in Russell, Kentucky will soon have to find a new location or split up their residence. The city has issued eminent domain on the Russell convalescent home property, meaning they will be forced to sell their property to the city. The council voted on it Thursday, this is a couple weeks ago, and it passed unanimously.
What do they want to use that property for, Jason?
Oh, well, I'll get to that. That's the worst part.
Oh.
Employees, residents, and supporters gathered outside the facility with signs that rallied to raise awareness about what was happening.
Hey, before you tell us what they're going to use it for, let's do a fucking, everybody gets to put in a guess.
I'm going to guess a park.
I'm going to guess parking.
I'm going to guess some.
Say both. Say both. Say both.
Bill, both? All right, both. He says both. I say both.
All right.
Okay.
Quote, you're taking their home and you're separating their family. That is Dreama Hedge, a medical supervisor with the home. The Russell Convalescent Home has been in downtown Russell for 50 years. It serves disabled adults by providing them with a place to live while teaching them life skills. Because the eminent domain is now officially happening, the Rome has switched gears to start fundraising for a new building so that all employees and the 27 residents can stay together. Let's see. Now that the city has made the move on the property, the city will pay the market value for the land to clear it, with plans for building a parking lot and a green space.
Mm-hmm.
Look at that!
They'd rather have their green area or their parking lot, and or take away these people that that this is their family. They don't have family, so they are their family. Blah, blah, blah. It says, okay. Quote, with all this progress, some changes are necessary. That is a press release from the city. The city needs the land located at 407 Ferry Street, directly across from the city building and the police station, for a green space and parking.
Mm-hmm. So there, I mean, and if you've ever worked with disabled adults or had experience with disabled adults, that change is something that upsets them a great deal. It's hard for them to cope with that, especially if they're autistic and and things. It's really hard for them to fully process change.
Right.
And what this government is doing is, and they could have chosen another place. They easily could have chosen another place. And then the reason that they chose where they did was specifically because they had to keep looking at this place over here and look at the residents, and it made them uncomfortable, so they want to just get rid of it.
Yep.
And what is the stated purpose of eminent domain? It is supposed to be
For public
for
good.
public use, right? For it is supposed to
Mm-hmm.
benefit the entire public. This is so that they have an easier time fucking parking the assholes that work at City Hall and the police department.
It's not even a big city, I don't think. I think it's a really small town.
Yeah, it's you know, and the thing is like if you had to park a block away from work, is that a really big deal? No, it is not.
No.
It's not a big deal. Plenty of us have had to deal with having to walk for 5 minutes to get to work because we had to park so far away.
Yep.
Let's see. Russell, Kentucky has a population of 3,380.
Oh my
3,000.
god.
Yeah.
Wow, what a booming metropolis where they need to, where real
All
estate's
this
at a fucking
progress
premium.
that they're enduring.
Yeah.
That's
Jesus
just, I mean,
That's twice the size. That's just barely over twice the size of my town.
Yeah.
you
All
could
right.
literally put a parking lot at the edge of that fucking town and walk to work, and it would still take 5 fucking minutes.
You could
You
walk
could
to work.
walk
You don't
across-
even have to drive.
You don't even
to
have to
work.
put a parking lot. Just walk to fucking work.
Just
walk
fucking
across
bike
town in
to
5
work
minutes.
or something. I mean, fuck.
A Kansas woman is using an obscure 1887 law to convene her own grand jury after a prosecutor refused to charge her attacker with rape.
Whoa.
Fucking
Yes.
awesome.
Yes. Madison Smith will never forget the moment a Kansas prosecutor told her she had it, or she. Madison Smith will never forget the moment a Kansas prosecutor told her she hadn't experienced a rape.
Now this is
Hold on.
this is going to piss
what-
so many people off. Why is
What
just
she had experienced in her freshman year of college was, quote, immature sex, according to the prosecutor.
What?
What?
No, wait a second.
it gets
Hold on.
better. It
Hold on.
gets better.
Andrew's
I
already
put
said.
the patch on because I knew it was coming.
Hold
but
on. The problem, he explained, was that Smith hadn't verbally said no or stop when the man she was having consensual sex with suddenly turned violent, slapping her in the face repeatedly and wrapping his fingers around her neck.
She was being strangled, so she didn't say no. So that's why the prosecutor isn't going after him.
I mean, I get it. Some people are into that, but obviously she wasn't.
Quote, I was dumbfounded, Smith told the Insider. Quote, I didn't say no, but I was also being strangled. I can't speak if I can't breathe.
No
Yeah.
fucking shit.
Ultimately, the McPherson County Attorney Gregory Benfield charged Smith's attacker with felony aggravated battery. Jared Stolzenberg pled guilty last year and received 24 months of probation.
Oh my god.
But to Smith and her
don't
family,
have work.
that wasn't good enough. Come September, the Smiths will be convening their own citizen-initiated grand jury in a
Hell yeah.
last-ditch effort to seek justice.
That's
The fam-
amazing.
The family is invoking an obscure 1887 Kansas statute that allows citizens to petition for their own grand jury to launch a new investigation and possibly lay new charges against Stolzenberg.
If it doesn't work, I have an alternative solution for the young man.
Yeah.
If you're listening but not watching, Andrew's holding a big-ass Bowie knife.
14 and a half inches long.
And I'll be honest with you, Andrew, I don't think it's big enough. I don't.
Oh, it's
think
way oversized for my plans, actually.
Yes.
No,
Yeah.
no.
Hold on.
But for your plans, yes. For mine, no.
Their hope is that a grand jury will agree that Benfield shouldn't be the one to prosecute the case, and that a special prosecutor from the Kansas Attorney General's office should be appointed instead. Quote, I don't think Benfield understood that my family and I were not the average victim and victim's family. We know what was right, and we know that what the county attorney was doing was not right.
Yeah.
Smith's ordeal started February 11, 2018, when she was a freshman at Bethany College in small Kansas city of Lindsborg. Smith told Insider that she ran into Stosberg, who was then a close friend in their dormitory's laundry facility that evening. The pair started chatting and agreed to hang out. Quote, things started progressing. We were kissing and making out and then eventually began to have sex, and that was all consensual up to the point that he started slapping and strangling me. Stolzenberg would grip her neck for 20 to 30 seconds at a time over and over again, Smith said. When she tried to remove his hands, he would tighten his grip. Smith also tried to penetrate her anally without her consent and even spun her around, grabbed her hair, and forced her to perform oral sex.
That's
Quote,
rape. All of that is
that's
fucking
rape.
rape.
Yeah,
rape.
that's blatantly rape. I mean, that can be consensual, yes. However, that needs to be addressed ahead of time. You don't get
Yes.
to just
Yes.
That has to be
That's
consented to ahead of time, and the boundaries have to be drawn, and safe words have to be used, and she has to have the opportunity to speak her safe words.
Yeah.
Yes.
Unfortunately, this is actually kind of the result, I have to say, of things like 50 Shades of Grey, which is like the worst thing that could happen to the kink community, period.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it lets people think that this kind of abuse is just kinky, and it is
Yes.
not. This
No.
is abuse. This is fucking rape.
Yes. She
Yes.
said that when Stolzenberg was finally done, she caught a glimpse of herself in the mirror beside the bed. Her neck was covered in bruises, one in the shape of a handprint. Quote, he tried to convince me that they were hickeys, she said.
No.
Wow.
Hold on,
Wow.
this-
What a
here's-
piece of shit.
Hold on.
Hickeys don't look like bruises. They're like two different things.
Neither Stolzenberg or Benfeld immediately responded to the Insider's question for comment. But Benfeld told the Washington Post he believed that justice had been done by securing a battery conviction.
No, it fucking wasn't.
No, it absolutely was
Hold on.
not.
This
Grand jury thing
hold on.
doesn't work. I offer reasonable
Hold on.
rates, fam.
This is also a quote from the DA. Quote, there is no doubt in my mind that Madison believes that she was the victim of rape. It was approached in that way, and then charging decisions were made based on evidence that was available in the case. I don't believe that we minimized this.
You,
Well,
as
you're
the son
fucking
of
wrong.
a bitch and fucking prosecutor for that county, you deserve to be dragged out of your ivory fucking tower and strung up by your nuts
And
right
treated to the
alongside
exact
son of a
same
bitch.
thing that she went through.
Yes.
No, I
Yeah.
think these prosecutors need to be treated to the exact same thing that she went through, and then see how they fucking feel about it.
And tell me that that's not rape. No, it was just immature sex, is what it was.
What the
It's
fuck is
okay.
immature sex?
Yeah, like what does that even mean? You're making up terms to justify fucking rape.
Okay. I skipped down several paragraphs because I don't want to read through all that again because I'll get angry. Again, to convene her own grand jury, Kansas statutes require citizens to gather signatures from at least 100 voters in the county, plus 2% of the total votes cast in the county's last gubernatorial election. For Smith and McPherson's county, that equated to 329 signatures. The Smiths started knocking on doors and approaching shoppers at farmers markets. They even set up a tent in a parking lot of a hair salon where they told strangers about the worst night in Madison Smith's life. Quote, my mom would go up to people and be like, hey, have you heard my daughter's story? Would you like to sign? I was initially kind of scared about the reactions that we were going to get, and there's always going to be people who are negative and don't want to believe anything the victim says. But there are so many more good people than there are bad, so much more support than negative comments.
Well, I
Once
asked
you
what
hear
sign.
that story,
So
yeah, how are you not willing to sign
And she has to
Yeah.
expose
Mhm.
that. She has
Yeah.
to like.
she has to
she
live
has
it. She has to
expose
live it.
that.
She has
And
to
live it
relive
over
it
and
every
over
time,
and over
every
and
single
over
time she
again.
talks about it.
and that's what's essentially happened is she was victimized by this guy, then she was victimized by this prosecutor, now she's having to be victimized again just to undo
try to
the
seek
wrong
justice.
that the two previous victimizers did.
Yeah, so
She's having to victimize
this
herself.
was
repeatedly.
2018 when this happened.
I love
3
the
years
very
later.
last statement. I love the very last statement before you get to the section here.
It says, Smith said some people she approached wouldn't even let her finish her story, saying, say no more, I'll sign.
Yep.
So there's good people, but
No,
The fact
back
that this
in
is
the
even
old
fucking
West.
necessary is
Yeah.
ridiculous.
we don't need to
Yep.
go further into that story because
Yeah, that's gonna piss me off too much.
We're
back
all
in
gonna
the old
violate
West, this
Brandenburg
would have been
real
taken
fucking
care of.
fast.
You know,
Yeah.
the same thing would happen to that guy that would happen to the bus driver. Just dragged out in the street. Good dose of street justice.
Yeah.
I mean, there are still places in the world where that kind of thing happens.
Unfortunately, the majority of the United States is not one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, yeah. Well, and it's not one of them, not because that's not possible. It's not one of them because everybody
All right.
puts so much faith in government and the justice system.
Fucking faith in government. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to faith in government. Let's talk about North Korea.
Yeah. And we only have like 10 minutes left.
Yeah, I know let's just get this one last one in. We spent too long talking about secession.
Yeah.
You can never spend too much time talking about secession.
That's true.
All right, North Korea has banned mullets, certain piercings, and skinny jeans in a bid to keep the country free from decadent Western fashion trends.
Wait, mullets?
Yep, mullets.
Well, and no mullets or
Oh,
pinstriper sunglasses.
Keep yourself safe from fashion trends from fucking 35 years ago.
And also no third-gen
All right.
Camaros. Those are also...
Yeah.
Yes, those have also.
It follows a state-run newspaper warning last week that more needs to be done to prevent capitalistic culture from taking over the country.
Well,
No.
they're just banning mullets because there is no partying there. So you
No.
can't be business up front, party in
Yeah.
the back.
Yeah, yeah, there's no party allowed in the back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
quote,
There's only
we,
one party. In
Yeah,
North Korea.
quote, we must be wary of even the slightest sign of the capitalistic lifestyle and fight to get rid of them. That's a quote from the article. The communist regime has reportedly outlawed all but 15, quote, non-socialist haircuts and instead issued an order on proper hairstyles. Mullet, spiky, or dyed hair are no longer authorized, according to documents published by the Socialist Patriotic Youth League.
Read forward
That
from here on out
sounds-
as brown shirts.
I'll repeat that again. The Socialist Patriotic Youth League.
That sounds compulsory.
Yes. Members of the state-run youth organization often act as the nation's, quote, fashion police, and their duties include censoring clothes that look too, quote, foreign.
Hitler Jungen. Yeah.
I just want to...
Nose and lip piercings, skinny jeans, and branded T-shirts are also forbidden. The new fashion rules are part of the regime's crackdown on, quote, anti-socialist behavior, according to documents.
I just want to point out that there is, in fact, if this sounds a little ridiculous to you, back in 2005, some North Korean footage was leaked to the West of a TV show, which is, and I am not making this up, Let's Trim Our Hair in Accordance with the Socialist Lifestyle. That is the name of the television show on North Korean TV. And what they do is they ambush people who don't have the socialist hairstyle with cameras to humiliate them. This is a screenshot from that television show.
Oh my God.
His hair's way too long.
It is.
That's
Wow.
What is that? A Pejong waterfall?
Yeah, and again, this is 2005. So the decadent Western hairstyle is that slightly longer. That's 2005. If that was not.
Oh my God. Why is it? Hey, how come over there, the stuff that our socialists wear is outlawed and against the socialist regime?
That's because we don't have socialists here. We're Marxist.
Yeah,
dyed hair, face piercings, and skinny jeans. I mean, that sounds like an
and that's
animal
all being banned. Yeah.
It's largely, Derek, it's largely because our socialists here are not the correct type of socialists.
That's what North Korea isn't socialist. It's socialism has never been tried.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, they're not real socialists.
They're not real socialists.
They're dyed-in-the-wool communists. The people that we have here are closet fascists who don't want to admit that they're fascists.
Right. So
So
they have to
we're
wrap
right
it
back-
up in like feelsy, like touchy feelsy
Right.
buzzwords and shit. Yeah, I know.
Right. And when you look at it, Hitler went to war with the communists because he didn't want their type of socialism. Our
Right.
type of socialism is correct.
Yeah, and I was just going to bring up. I was going to point out that was actually like a big propaganda thing in Hitler's Germany, where it was about women wearing the proper clothing and men wearing these proper, nice gentlemanly clothing, and women had to dress and act like they were going to be good homemakers for the
Master race bullshit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and like this is the same kind of thing, and it's
Like
just the best part is that it's
shit.
North Korea though, so it's like a caricature of everything.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, maybe they're just banning Kentucky waterfalls because they can't afford shampoo.
Yeah, I mean
that's a possibility.
we
Well,
can't
it's
afford
easier
any
to
more
pick lice
Aquanet.
out of short hair. So,
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, don't forget
That's a protein source according to some people recently.
Yeah, it's well, don't forget that that North Korean soldier a few years ago who escaped to the South. Remember that big dramatic video came out?
Yeah.
He was getting shot at and stole that Jeep and everything else, and he made it. And he had like massive intestinal parasites and head lice and body lice and all these other problems. That says a lot that a country that has those kinds of problems instead is going, we need to get rid of these fucking skinny jeans and these decadent mullets.
Yeah, you
and we're
can't.
mandating buzz cuts.
Yeah, you can't. But you can't have a collectivist mindset when you have people being individualistic.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. So you have to root out, quote unquote wrong think.
That's what kills me about American Marxists and fucking collectivists.
They're
Is
all about
you
it.
really think that your like little special fucking cupcake gender identity is gonna survive fucking cultural Marxism? Are you fucking crazy?
Yeah, it'll never survive. I mean, that's the big thing is like they think that and that they're touchy feely, like, but my emotions and everything else are somehow like, don't you care about my emotions? Did you not watch Equilibrium? Are you unaware of what?
What's that meme from the other day? It says, "Is your freedom more important than safety?" Or
I posted that.
I don't even know you.
Is your freedom more important
my
than my
lunch
safety?
is more important than your safety.
That's right.
Bro, I don't even know you. My lunch is more important than your safety.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit.
Yeah, I posted that one.
Yeah, fuck your.
Honestly, I would say that, and I know Derek has probably got to go here soon, but I would like to segue into one more if we can. I would say that my sleeping in my car is more important than your safety.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Yeah. Let's get on to that time. Let's just get out of here early.
I don't want to get out of here early. I want to go through this one.
Because people don't get here on time, so we start late.
Well, since we started late, then we still have 15 minutes because that's how long it took Deirdre to get here.
You guys could have started without me. I was prepared to just jump in when I could get here. We had dinner late.
That sounds like the start of a really good conversation that we're not going to get into.
I'm always happy to jump in when I get there.
Jump in.
Anything I say is going to get my ass in trouble, so I'm just going to keep my mouth shut.
Hey, if you guys get it warmed up for me, I'll just hop right in when I
definitely been to a few parties like that.
Yeah, me too.
This is why nobody respects us.
This is hard hitting.
But conversely, it's also why anybody listens to us.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. If we can make it fast, we'll do the last one. Let's make it really fast.
Okay. Does this elderly veteran have a recourse against the federal cops who brutally assaulted him?
No, he doesn't. Boom. Nobody does.
Well, it's going to Scootus is going to decide whether to take it up or not.
So the answer is still going to be no. Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah, Vietnam veteran Jose Olivia at a VA hospital in El Paso 5 years ago later claimed he was trying to enter the building, quote, without clearance security. But video of the incident shows that Olivia did nothing to justify the officer's orders, which caused shoulder injuries requiring 2 surgeries and left him with persistent ear and throat issues. They choked him and beat him up. And in a case where the Supreme Court is expected to consider a review next week, Olivia argues that he should be able to sue VA officers, blah, 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 violating his Fourth Amendment rights. At stake of the question is whether or not the court should tolerate what the Fifth Circuit judge calls a constitutional free zone where citizens can be brutalized and even killed by rogue federal officers with impunity. Olivia, Olivia, then 70 years old, was on his way to a dental appointment in February 2016 when Navarre, that's one of the security guards, who was manning the security station at the entrance of the VA hospital, asked him for ID. Olivia said he put the ID in a plastic x-ray bin along with other personal effects, a response that Navarre apparently viewed as insufficiently respectful. Quote, I got a problem with this man, Navarre told his fellow officers. He's got an attitude. Navarre walked around the conveyor belt, took out his handcuffs, and directed Olivia toward the metal detector. As Olivia walked through, Barjona, that's another one of the guards, who had gestured for him to proceed, grabbed him, yanked his arm, tearing his rotator cuff. Navarre choked Oliver from behind and slammed him on the floor, and then Garcia joined the attack.
A 70-year-old man with a torn rotator cuff.
At a VA.
At a VA. By VA cops.
Yes.
The VA giving veterans an additional opportunity to die for their country since 1989.
Detained Olivia, eventually charging him with disorderly conduct, a charge that was ultimately dismissed. A federal judge later concluded that there was no evidence that Olivia had committed a crime or resisted arrest, which implies that Navarre and his colleagues violated the Fourth Amendment's ban on unreasonable seizures.
You think? And they also fucking just assaulted him. Like,
yes.
Yeah. Tell me how this doesn't sound as you look through, as you hear that. Tell me that doesn't sound like gang violence. Like if we changed the roles a little bit and made these guys now no longer cops, and we made them these random thugs in the inner city.
Remove their little one piece of jewelry, right? Their badge.
And they're just standing there guarding the entrance to some business that this old man is trying to go into. And they do that. Does that still sound okay to you?
Yeah.
Because a 70-year-old man apparently, allegedly, quote unquote,
wasn't respectful enough.
Had an attitude.
Motherfucker, you work at the VA. If you're looking for fucking veterans, I got bad news for you.
Yeah, really bad news for you.
There aren't a whole lot of people who are veterans who have any respect for authority whatsoever.
Yeah.
Vermin to us. You are.
If you're a veteran on this show, raise your hand. Now, keep your hand up if you have respect for authority. If you have respect for authority.
Oh, have respect. Sorry.
Yeah.
Beers are getting to my brain. My apologies.
They all three raised their hand. They all three put their hands down.
Yeah, none of us.
As I refill my beer.
Yeah.
The VA, my grandfather, right? My grandfather, he fought in Korea and stuff. He was at Chosin Dam. My grandfather had respect for the VA in that, like, he was like, well, they never did me wrong, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, Grandpa, you're like fucking 100. All right. It's things have changed.
Okay. On that same vein, go ahead, Andrew.
World War II Korean veterans, they had a different experience with any kind of Veterans Affairs because the VA wasn't established until 1989. And since its establishment, it has been nothing but a source of suffering and agony and frustration.
My brother got hit with an IED in Fallujah or Ramadi, Fallujah or Ramadi back then, and he has screws in his knee, and he had one of the screws come loose and it was hurting him, and he wanted to go and get it looked at. It took them 8 weeks to get him in for an appointment. And when they did get him in for an appointment, they rushed him to the emergency room and put a stent into his heart where they could pump antibiotics into it because the screw had developed or had caused an infection in his knee that almost fucking killed him.
That went septic. Yeah. Sepsis is like one of the number one killers at VA.
Tell me more about how the government should be in charge of everyone's healthcare.
Yeah.
Right. My dad spent a tour in Vietnam with the 11th Armored Cav and the headquarter troops. So he was right in the middle of everything.
Yeah, my dad
And-
was an infantry first lieutenant in Vietnam.
Right. So you understand what I'm about to say. My dad, they offered to send him to the VA in Madison, Wisconsin for his cancer treatments. And my dad told the VA, and I quote, "Lick my balls. I'm going to Mayo in Rochester, Minnesota, where they know what the fuck they're doing."
Mm-hmm.
Well, don't forget the VA right near me and right near you, Chris, in Toma,
Yep.
Wisconsin, infected a bunch of people with HIV
Mm-hmm.
because they weren't cleaning their tooth stuff. The dentists were infecting people with HIV. Okay.
Yep.
In the VA. These are the people who are like, well, you're not being respectful to me, so I'm going to beat the shit out of a 70-year-old man because that'll inspire respect from other people.
Yeah.
Right.
Like if you're a veteran and you've ever been to the VA before, anytime you walk towards it after that, you are fucking building attitude with every step you walk toward that fucking hellhole.
Yep.
Hey, one of my buddies lost his leg. It was blown off by 90. He stepped on a pressure plate IED, vaporized it, right? They did surgery to amputate a little bit so that, they had the right amount for a prosthetic. So they fold the skin over, sew it up. In the notes, the doctor said that he was healed, talking about the scar tissue has now healed so he can be fitted for a prosthetic. He received a letter from the VA telling him he was no longer disabled because the doctor told him he was healed.
Yeah.
He's like, am I a fucking spider? Did I grow my leg back? Is there a treatment that I don't know about? Because if you have one, I kind of like it. I liked my original leg quite a bit. I was a little attached to it.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
I could run a whole new podcast series just on how shitty the fucking VA is.
Well,
oh yeah.
And to go down
with-
that same
with
vein,
Like
all-
I
with
fought
all
them
the-
for 10 fucking years.
With all the libertarian and anarchist podcasts that are run by members of the military, you would have hours and hours and hours of stories.
Oh, absolutely. And
Oh,
you know,
yeah. I mean, just
what
endless.
really blows my mind with my dad is, so he died in 2003, late 2003, of renal cell carcinoma, which was caused by contact with Agent Orange while in Vietnam.
It's my dad's prostate cancer. My parents lost 3 of their fucking babies to birth defects because of that shit.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And it
3
wasn't
of their
until
children, 2 as
6
babies
months.
and 1 as a 17-year-old.
I want to emphasize this. It was 6 months after my dad was buried that the VA finally acknowledged that Agent Orange could cause his type of cancer.
And it was
Yeah,
service
And
connected.
because he was already dead, there was no benefits paid.
Yeah.
And these are the people that these thugs are serving. And these thugs think that they deserve fucking respect to the point that they are willing to beat the living shit
Out of
Hey,
an old man who
77-year-old
used
man.
the wrong tone with that.
They're just serving their country and just
They're
doing their
They're
job.
just following
They're
orders.
doing their
Andrew.
job.
Thank them for their service.
They're
Yeah.
just following orders, Andrew.
And and look at what they did. And then the court says you don't get to fucking sue them.
Yep. Even though as the article here states, in a 1971 case, Bivens v. 6 unknown named federal narcotics agents, they say victims of such abuse have a right to sue perpetrators for damages. And then a half a century later, in the 2017 case, Ziegler v. Abbasi, the court cautioned against extending the remedy established in Bivens to any new context, which it called a disfavored judicial activity.
What?
They
So in
tried to
1971,
undo
they said,
jurisprudence.
yes, they basically overturned jurisprudence in 2017 from the 1971 case of Bivens v. 6 unknown federal agents. They undid it with Ziegler v. Abbasi by saying, oh, well, because they're law enforcement, fuck you.
Yeah.
Any new
No,
context means
Then
everything
we
will be
slide
fair.
further into fucking fascism.
Yeah,
You know how-
shit.
You know how you
Totalitarianism.
create domestic terrorists? With shit like this.
Shit like this.
Yep. Shit like this.
All right. On
Yeah.
that note.
Yep.
let's start some plugs and get out of here.
Erica, go ahead.
Buy my book.
And her crochet pattern.
Yeah, well,
crochet
I mean,
pattern.
I appreciate you putting the link up for that, but I don't think a lot of crafters listen to us.
You'd be surprised. My wife is kind of a crafter. She listens.
We might have another pandemic and people might be locked down for
There-
a year and have to
There
find
are
a new
people
hobby.
listening to us right now, glaring at their computer screen because you said that as they hold their glitter and their crazy.
True.
Yeah, but they're Marines and they're eating the glue.
Well, it's true.
Well, that's true. Because the glue says
But-
Crayola on the side, they're eating it.
While crafting can produce some very useful skills, my book will produce the most useful skill that you can teach your child. So check it out. There's a link below.
Working my 7-year-old through some of it right now.
Yeah.
Critical thinking makes all the difference, and when you teach somebody how to critically think and they truly absorb it, the change that you will see in them with how they look at the world is amazing.
That is the immunization to the real pandemic we talked about.
That's what I'm saying.
earlier.
Just go read
As I
Derica's book, and
the
you won't
book
end
is-
up in a strip club getting your DNA altered
Yeah.
by
As you stare at an empty
it's-
stripper
it's
bowl. an
really
empty
funny.
stripper bowl.
It's really funny with Derica's book because I had my older two kind of working their way through it, and they just kind of abandoned it altogether. My youngest, on the other hand, she has really kind of taken a liking to it, and it's really funny to watch her use some critical thinking in arguments with her older siblings because
And they're
they
totally
don't know how to
unprepared
respond.
because they've abandoned
Oh yeah,
it. Right?
because they have
abandoned
no
it.
idea how to respond. They're like, "What?"
And she just cuts them right off at the knees.
Oh, yep, it's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
I love it.
It makes a hell of a difference.
Yep. Teach them young. This thing where we think that this is something that doesn't need to be taught till college is bullshit. All right. Other plugs.
Other plugs. I think I have enough now because I have 3 different discount codes, 3 different websites. It's the Beard Struggle. You have the other 2 that are streetwear and sunglasses and watches. You know what? I'm not even going to bother plugging the names of it. The links will be in the description. So will the discount codes. Just go buy stuff from them because they're cool companies. They got some cool stuff. Go do that.
I'm not, I don't get any cool discount codes or anything like that, but a local business to me that makes some really cool beard balm. It looks almost like a chapstick, but it's bigger. And you just kind of rub it on your beard and it softens it up immediately. They're called Wandering Sheep. Go check them out too. Wandering Sheep. Just Google them. Wandering Sheep beard care. And they will and they make good stuff. Go find them.
Most
Check out Road to
professional
Autonomy
podcast
magazine.
ever.
Yeah.
What was that, Jason?
I said most professional podcast ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's us. That's in
Hey
general.
man,
I'm
I'm
the
basically
most professional podcast.
I think it works for us.
I'm collecting discounts, man. So like the more discounts that you guys use, the more discounts I get, which works out for me because I can get stuff that I want for a lot cheaper.
See,
So-
we need to stop saying most professional and just go like most anarchist podcast ever.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Well, that would be the epitome of professionalism, is to be the most anarchist ever.
Dude, you give me free shit, I will hawk whatever the fuck you want. All right. Like,
We are
I
free
got
market
I got
capitalists. here.
$3.50 if you show your nipple right now.
That's see which one I got 3.
Okay. All right. No, I'm just joking. You guys thought I was going to.
Oh, that's
it.
and for YouTube and upping the views. You know, that happens.
Subscribe to our OnlyFans.
But see, because I'm a
Recording.
female, I can't do that, or we'll get kicked off of.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm all for equality. Whatever.
Yeah, as Derek has said, check out RTA Magazine. Check out what Dharma's doing there. It's freaking fantastic. They're really good articles. It's really interesting. It's definitely worth reading. Read it. Enjoy it.
Yeah.
So, on that note, anything else? No? Going once, going twice?
No.
Benet, bro.
Free.
Yeah.
Live free, ladies and gentlemen. Live
Yeah.
free.
Support your local secessionist movement. We'll catch you on the next one. Peace.
Peace.
Peace.